Board.
This meeting is being recorded.
All right. Hey, folks. This is the biweekly cloud provider extraction migration subproject meeting. Given code freeze is a few days away, I figured it'd be good to spend this time reviewing PRs, talking about PRs that we want related to the whole extraction effort and whatnot. I know Nick has a few PRs. Okay, I see you added it on the agenda there. If anyone else has PRs that they want to go over in this meeting or just talk about, or you want them reviewed and just putting on people's radar, please drop them in the agenda and go through them. Okay. First, this is removing the deprecated insecure serving addresses.
Yeah. So I just came across this when I was working on the webhook stuff. I don't think we set a date for removing it, so that would be the kind of the con. But it is marked as deprecated, and I believe pretty much every other component has removed their insecure serving stuff, configuration. So I thought I would at least propose it, and we can either remove it in 124 or set a date or set a release.
Yeah, so if Kube Controller Manager, do you know which release Kube Controller Manager removed it?
Not off the top of my, I think it was 121.
Okay. Because yeah, if it's been deprecated that long and we already know that Kube Controller Manager deleted a while ago, then I'm inclined to say, yeah, let's just remove it. I'm wondering though, like, did you just notice it's deprecated and you're removing it, or was there like a technical issue when implementing the webhooks PR around the insecure serving?
No, there was not there was not I was originally like deciding whether or not to add it to insecure serving, because my original implementation was essentially adding it to the secure serving handler that's already there. That's changing, which we can talk about for the next PR. But yeah, I just noticed it and then figured might as well rip it out.
Gotcha. That makes sense. Okay. I have no objections to this. But yeah, probably good to maybe get like Walter's opinion on it too, because he's more familiar with that area of the controller manager. So I will poke Walter about that one. Okay, yeah, let's go over the webhooks PR.
Yeah. So this one I'm finishing up addressing all the comments that you had. So basically, to summarize, there was some things you pointed out that I'll fix, like or maybe it was Walter, but just making sure to make sure the flags can disable the webhooks and all that. But the big thing is the sort of the alpha shortcut that we were talking about, where we would add the webhooks to the secure serving port that's already included, which has health Z, it has config Z, and it has metrics. So there's kind of an interesting problem with that, which is going to force me to create a new secure serving configuration and serve it off of a different port. So and maybe there's another way around this, but basically what I ran into is the way that port is set up to do authentication and authorization is you set two flags that are the authentication kube config and the authorization kube config, and that just tells the CCM to call out to the API server to kind of do all that for it. So what happens is the API server, when this is a webhook setup, so the API server calls to CCM, and then CCM calls back out to the API server. And that only would work if you had the same CA configured for client cert auth and for the API server proxy client. But as it is now, those are in almost all setups, those are different CAs, and that's how you're like, that's the secure way to kind of configure stuff. So what happens is the API server treats itself as system anonymous, and then you would have to create an RBAC rule for system anonymous calling on that webhook path and allow that, which I suppose is possible, but it is kind of pretty undesirable. So I'm almost finished adding the additional secure serving configuration and a couple flags for that. And I'll have that updated hopefully today, but that's kind of where it is right now. Does that make sense?
I think I got like half of it. But no, but that's just, I'm just a little slow today. But yeah, I think I understand what you're saying. Yeah, and so you're basically saying like to avoid all of that.
I think the crux of the issue is just that the CCM has to call out to the API server for authentication and authorization on that existing port. And I tried a couple of different things, but I think the only way to really get around that is using the same CA, but that's not going to happen for all setups and most setups. And when I say the same CA, I mean the API server client CA and the API server like proxy client certificate. So those would have to be the same. And then the API server could essentially authenticate itself. But there's no reason to do that. Really, we don't want that sort of authentication. We want a different handler that doesn't call back to the API server and just allows requests on the webhook. So at least that's what I think.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, personally, I need to give it more thought. Anyone else want to chime in on that one? Okay. And how is the path of the webhook determined? Like the URL path of the handler?
Yeah, it's in this webhook config. So if you go back to the description of the, if you just click on that link, that I was testing it with our cloud provider. So you can see, like, I've added a webhook here, and you just kind of pass it in with this webhook config struct.
Oh, the webhook config has a path. I see. Okay. Okay.
And then all of the webhook logic is in there as well.
Cool. Okay. So yeah, I guess. Yeah, let me know when you've updated it to add the separate serving port, and then, or just like whenever you think the PR is no longer like a work in progress, maybe I'm wondering like if we want to do like actually like a live review together.
Yeah, that could be pretty efficient. I think that's a good idea. Yeah, let's sync up on when, maybe tomorrow, sometime tomorrow.
Yep, that sounds good.
Cool.
Okay, so that one we'll do async. Tomorrow, Enter in here if you want to invite. And I'm gonna assume Walter's gonna want to be there. And I'm gonna add you.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay. Right. Joe, do you want to talk about the leader migration?
Yeah, we were trying to figure out if we should flip the bits instead of this GA. I remember from previous discussions, we'd wanted to get a signal from other teams. I think we've gotten everything that we said we were going to do, but I just wanted to double check with SIG and make sure we were okay before we did that.
And does this mean the types to V1, or is there something else included in this?
Yeah, to go to V1, we would have to introduce a V1 type. The beta one would still be there for quite a long time. It would go through normal deprecation.
Right. Yeah, I think I commented on the V1 types PR, and I just said, like, is there, like, as far as I know, most of the testing has been done by us, the cloud providers, and not a lot of users have actually done this migration in the real world. Is there an advantage to getting some real world usage of users migrating with it before we go to V1? So that if we end up wanting to make changes, we don't have to do it from V1?
Maybe. It might be a bit of a chicken and egg problem. We've had it in beta for a while now, and we've been pushing people to use it. I think all the people that we know we could convince to try and use it have done that. If there's somebody that's convinced that we're going to be able to get users to do something, and there's something concrete that we could use as the goalpost to know that we've done that, I would be game for that. But I don't know. Like, I don't know how the SIG feels about this. Do people just kind of want to wait longer, or do we want to have a goal? What do we want to do? Like, how do we think about this?
So I'll say, like, EKS is going to use it in our migration to 122, likely. So there will be a lot of usage on it after that. And if we, I guess, found something that, I don't know what it would be, but maybe a feature that we wanted to add to it or something like that. I feel like there's a higher chance of us finding that after we have, thousands of people actually migrating versus before, when we've just done some testing.
Okay.
Like,
I mean, I do think that we're allowed to add new features and enhance the existing thing, or like add on to it. I think really the concern is like breaking changes. Like, if we went GA this release and then later we're like, oh, there's this breaking change we really want to make, we wouldn't be able to do that. But like,
right,
I don't know, like, I'm not sure. Like, yeah, like I can't think of like a, well, like all breaking changes, like you don't know you want to make the breaking change until it's already out there.
Yeah,
exactly. Yeah.
I can't think of it. And like, it is true. Like Javi was telling me the other week that like we can do a lot. Like we have a lot of flexibility with the internals of the implementation and what happens inside the components. We just can't make breaking changes to the specific config API, which maybe is not the end of the world. Oh, sorry, Walter, you have your hand up.
So the one, and I know this is a silly thing to get, but the one thing that concerned me a little bit with the V1 change was removing the configurable leader election resource option. And I understood that there are a few folks from another SIG who came in and were like, all of the old flags that we use for doing Lisa or leader election, like config maps and endpoints, we don't support anymore. And Lisa is the only thing that's currently supported, which is valid. But at the same time, I wonder if at some point, we had reasons to move away from config map to endpoint. We had reasons to move from endpoint to lease. I'm just not convinced we're not going to find a reason to want to move from lease to yet something other, especially, the more generic version of this, which is saying, hey, I want to be able to move any set of controllers. As examples, I could see where you might want to do something like support a CR or even an aggregated endpoint if you wanted a different backend. So I'm just not. The one thing I will say is I wonder if there was really that much value in removing the lease the configurable resource option for the lease.
I think that's fair feedback. I'm not a huge fan of config maps in general, so I'm not going to miss it. But I mean, one thing is if we do find something better in the future, there's nothing preventing us from adding it to a V1 API in a backwards compatible way. In fact, we could even re-add config maps after V1 in a backwards compatible way, I'm pretty sure, as long as we structure the API right.
Oh, that's legit. I mean, I'm not asking to support config map and endpoint, right? Just so I'm being very clear.
Yeah, I think I get that.
I want to support those. I just was wondering if, having a configurable resource might not be valuable. I mean, I'm not like, what is the value for removing that option?
Yeah, if the API is now structured so that we couldn't add another thing easily in the future, that's a mistake. We should fix that. We should future-proof the API against an unknown new thing being maybe useful.
Right, and because the config API is fairly simple, like I have a hard time thinking of ways that where we'd be forced to break it like that. Like, it seems like for almost anything we can think of, like there's a way to grow it in a compatible way later.
Yeah, you just basically add a new optional field. In fact, you don't even have some of the complications that you have with resource objects where you have to like be able to round trip and stuff, because it's just a flat file. It's actually really easy.
Yep. That's true. Okay. I mean, yeah, and I tend to agree that we have this. I mean, we have this chicken and egg problem with like this whole cloud provider extraction thing. Like, we're not going to have the whole user base coming in complaining about the fact that we remove cloud providers until we actually do it. So like, we're kind of at some point we have to like kind of bite that bullet. So
I think the bigger picture is, if we keep the things that you need to finish the cloud provider migration beta, I think we are continuing to push out like when we're able to say we're done further. I mean, if we're okay with that in this case, that's fine. I want to make sure that we have, because we kind of have to have like a go, no go pretty much today on whether or not we're going to make that code change and try and put it in.
Yeah. Walter, did you still have your hand up, or was that from before?
Sorry, that was from before. I didn't realize I had to explicitly get it down, but I will in a sec.
Yeah, it's not like Meets where it knows that you said something and it puts it down for you. But yeah, I mean, I think I'm convinced, right? Like because we're not, like Joe was saying, like doesn't require round trip, and it's just a local config that you convert to an internal type. It seems like breaking changes are unlikely, or like I can't think of a change where we'd be back into a corner. So I'm a +1 to try to get this in.
Yeah, that's fair. I'm fine with it.
Sounds good. Thanks, guys.
Michael, I know that you were mentioning like working with some Azure folks as well to try to gain adoption on this, but I know like maybe short notice and.
Yeah, like I haven't heard anything from Bridget back yet. This basically the problem was that I was having difficulty getting the leader migration to work on Azure with just like kind of a so-called vanilla Kubernetes, right? Like I thought I would have problems getting to do it on OpenShift using the migration methodology. And that proved to be true. Just the security requirements were I couldn't get it like, configured the way I wanted to. So I moved to just trying to like, just deploy like a normal kube cluster on Azure, and then just trying to run the instructions from the docs. But I was running into problems getting that to work for me. And I started to wonder if maybe it was like my Azure account credentials or something. I wasn't sure if it was actually, the tech that was causing a problem or my permissions on Azure. So I reached out to Bridget about 2 weeks ago, just saying like, hey, like if you've got people there who could just deploy an Azure cluster and like just try this, with the instructions from upstream, like that would be good. But at this point, like I can't say that I've done it on Azure and give a thumbs up. Like I don't feel confident about that. But I don't think it's because the patches are bad in the migration thing. I think it's more because I'm having difficulty operating the cluster.
Yeah, makes sense. Okay. But yeah, do let us know if you do get around to that. I know, yeah, it's like definitely not an easy thing to test because you have to like, especially if you're doing it manually.
Right, totally. And that was kind of the problem. You know what? I'll poke Bridget again and just see like if she's had any progress on that or not.
Okay. Okay, so who can we assign to I mean, we should all review it, but who's gonna approve the V1 text here? Walter, can I put that on you too?
Yep, no worries. I can take care of that.
Okay. And then just one more thing that I'll add is for the Kubelet credential provider, we merged the PR to add no DDoE tests, and graduation to beta was approved today. So yeah, we merged the PR to add no DDoE tests with the GC remote runner, and then there's a PR to promote all the types in the Kubelet APIs to beta and promote the future gate. So this should be merged soon. But yeah, if anyone wanted to make any more changes to this feature before beta, I mean, we still have like a few days, so let me know. Walter, you have your hand up.
And I'll put it down right now before I go to anything else. I was going to suggest it might be good if we could try to get a couple of volunteers to ensure that these tests are running. If reasonable, is there a way we can run them in the cloud provider distribution repos like cloud provider GCP or cloud provider Azure or cloud? Yeah.
Yeah, that would be really nice to have. Like, I kind of took the path of least resistance and just baked everything in the main repo. But we do have a proud job that is running it and passing. So like that's good. But I agree. Like if we have it externally running on the other providers, that'd be really good. The problem is the Node EDB runner is very GC centric, and I don't blame folks for not trying to get it working on the other providers. But
maybe then we should at least commit to trying to make sure it runs on cloud provider GCP.
Yeah, I agree. I will take an action item for that. So also Walter, in case you missed it, Nick and I were thinking it'd be a good idea to do a live review of the webhook PR sometime tomorrow, just because we're close to code freeze and there's a lot to review, so it might be good to just do it in a meeting.
Love it. I'll try and get it reviewed myself tonight, and then we should make sure to send out an email and put it into the Slack today so people can plan their time tomorrow.
Yep, sounds good. Okay, so Nick, you can schedule that one, right?
Yeah.
Okay, and oh, one more thing. I sent an email out to the SIG about changing the meeting time for this to something a bit earlier. That's more year friendly. I think only Michael was the only one who kind of had like a suggestion for the time, so I'm just gonna go with that one. I think it was like 12:30 PT or something like that.
I mean, yeah, that works for me.
Okay,
Yeah.
but yeah,
I prefer the 9:30 PST or whatever it is.
okay, cool. I'll change it for the next meeting then, if there are no objections.
Don't we need like a tiebreaker vote or something? Come on. I'm not objecting. I'm just being facetious.
All right. Okay, I think we're over time, so go ahead and see everyone in 2 weeks.
Cool. Thanks.